artists. They've connected us with like, heads of like nonprofit organizations getting into crypto philanthropy. So it's huge. Like the space is huge. You can see the interconnection of like communities and how it kind of like pushes the technology and the art.
Sure. My question.
Must PH, we're going to have the second crypto art competition here in the Philippines. So we're inviting Filipino artists to join us and celebrate Christmas with us through art and NFTs. And we have also Philippine Who, so a group of Filipino artists who just happen to be spending time in Twitter Spaces. Suddenly, everybody is pitching in, asking, who are the Filipinos? How can we explore our identity through the blockchain, through this technology that we're having? So yeah, and shout out to Aswang Tribe. Hello. So yeah, thank you.
Okay, for me, I think it's with Galleria Paloma. I'm so thrilled to be part of like their one-of-one exhibit, and I think they're trying to push that, trying to still find sales and getting a wider audience to appreciate like crypto art. So I'm with Galleria Paloma. The exhibit is called One of One, and then my pieces are figments and figures. So they're mixed media collages made out of old makeup and ink, and then animated. So thank you.
I'm also gonna be a judge for TESMAS, and Scarlet Box's Larry Alcala drop just happened a few days ago. So I'm also one of the artists who collaborated with them on the PFP project, and I randomly just drop art on my object page. So,
I think my last question, also following my previous one, is if I'm a new artist or who wants to enter this space, what steps should I do? What available materials do I have? What kind of support can I get if I want to enter the NFT space in the Philippines?
Find a friend. I think at the end of the day, I was lucky that I found a friend that invited me to explore the space, and then from that friend, I met new friends. So we go back to community. So I think it's that. It's like I worked with it's choosing the people that you trust. So I worked with Sevi, with April, and that helped me kind of like find who I can connect with, or the groups that like they're participating in, and then sharing the knowledge. I think my experience so far is that people are so generous to help. So you'll start with one friend, then you'll have three friends, and you'll have cryptoart.ph. So
I agree with that. I started minting because of a friend, and eventually I grew a community around my art, and I also met a lot of interesting people, not only in the Philippines but also across the globe. And I'm also a part of the community now that Zopet is starting, so I feel like I belong. If you're starting out, a lot of artists or a lot of people into NFTs are willing to help you jumpstart your journey into the platform.
Last one. Any final message to the NFT community in the Philippines?
let's go. No, just kidding. Sobrang classic. I think, yeah, I'm so excited on what the future is, or we are in the future, having this kind of event happening and seeing, I didn't expect this kind of turnout. So this is quite whew, wow. So I'm just really excited, what we can build together or what we can co-imagine together. So.
I would like to take this opportunity to say thank you to Colin Goltra and Gabby Dizon, who were one of our first collectors, who are first supporters of Filipino artists in the crypto art scene. So thank you with that and giving us this opportunity to share and discuss what we're doing right now. It's like an update on the Filipino community. Yeah, and shout out to Crypto Art Page again. Hello sa inyo.
just to make it through this market condition. And people who support the arts and NFTs in general.
Yeah, and
All right, thank you so much, guys. This is a very insightful talk. And now, if you guys want to know more about us, just say hi when you see us. Yeah, thank you so much. Have a wonderful day. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ivan, Sheila, Jopet, and Bjorn. I'm sure we've learned a lot from the series of panel discussions. But before we proceed with the next segment, let's have a 20-minute break first. And while waiting for our program to start, feel free to take some photos and tweet like crazy using our hashtag PHWeb3Fest. Let's make sure we get it trending and show the world that the Philippines is too big to be missed. Our program will resume at 3:20.
What if your everyday is easier? What if your tasks are faster? What if you never have to chase due dates ever? What if your life is safer? What if your dreams are higher? What if kaya mo na? GCash gives you secure payments, real-time money transfers, accessible financial services, exclusive deals, and a full suite of business solutions para kaya mo na sumabay sa takbo ng buhay. Kaya mo na to stay connected. Kaya mo na magbayad anytime, anywhere. Kaya mo na mag-buy and sell. Kaya mo na to get exclusive deals. Kaya mo na magpera padala. Kaya mo na gawing safe ang future. Kaya mo na abutin ang pangarap. Kaya mo na makatulong, magbigay ng pag-asa. Kaya mo, GCash mo.
Music, art, and NFTs. One big celebration. Over 10,000 G-goers. A recap of the best moments. Powered by NFT activated passes. 917 new NFT owners. The biggest NFT launch in the Philippines.
bis na kita. Ay, kailan kaya ulit?
Angkas, tara na! Whee! Pabalik pa po ang angkas?
Manalig ka lang, dahil ang angkas ay malakas.
Angkas malakas!
Angkas malakas!
Angkas malakas!
Bis na kita. Ay, kailan kaya ulit?
Guriseta, Africa, Cauton, and Saavedra has been consistently ranked as a top-tier law firm in the Philippines by various prestigious international organizations such as Asian Legal Business, International Financial Law Review, the Legal 500, Chambers Partners, Asia Business Law Journal, and the Asia Law Profiles. Our firm, Guriseta, Africa, Cauton, and Saavedra, was awarded the Technology, Media, and Telecommunications Law Firm of the Year for 2019, 2020, and 2021, and also the Innovative Technologies Law Firm of the Year for 2019 and 2021 by Asian Legal Business during the Philippine Law Awards. We were also voted as the best fintech law firm in the Philippines for 2019, 2020, and 2021 during the annual awards of UK-based Wealth and Finance International. We were likewise voted as Technology, Media, and Telecommunications Law Firm of the Year for 2019, 2020, and 2021 by Vantage Asia or Asia Business Law Journal.
With pioneering expertise on the law on digital assets, fintech, blockchain, virtual currencies, e-commerce, data privacy, and artificial.
What if your everyday is easier? What if your tasks are faster? What if you never have to chase due dates ever? What if your life is safer? What if your dreams are higher? What if kaya mo na? GCash gives you secure payments, real-time money transfers, accessible financial services, exclusive deals, and a full suite of business solutions para kaya mo na sumabay sa takbo ng buhay. Kaya mo na to stay connected. Kaya mo na magbayad anytime, anywhere. Kaya mo na mag-buy and sell. Kaya mo na to get exclusive deals. Kaya mo na magpera padala. Kaya mo na gawing safe ang future. Kaya mo na abutin ang pangarap. Kaya mo na makatulong, magbigay ng pag-asa. Kaya mo, GCash mo.
Music, art, and NFTs. One big celebration. Over 10,000 G-goers. A recap of the best moments. Powered by NFT activated passes. 917 new NFT owners. The biggest NFT launch in the Philippines.
Emfarsis. We hope you had a rejuvenating break as we are now going to proceed with our last few segments. And with that, we'd like to please call on our next keynote speaker for this afternoon. To talk about what is it like to be a Filipino innovator, we have George Royeca of Angkas.
Noong 2016, tinanggap natin ang hamon na baguhin ang tingin ng mga tao sa mga motorcycle taxis. At sa ating pagsisikap, nakabuo tayo ng isang matatag na komunidad na patuloy na lumalawak at lumalago hanggang sa ngayon. Higit sa lahat, nabigyan natin ng trabaho at oportunidad ang libo-libong motorcycle riders sa Pilipinas.
Malaki ang natulong sa akin ng hanap buhay na Angkas. Wala naman akong sariling motorsiklo. Kabili ko yung pangarap kong motorsiklo. Tapos isa pa yung napagawa ko rin yung bahay ko.
Napakaganda ng serbisyo ni Angkas. Gumita ako dito ng sapat na higit pa sa inaakala ko.
Kaya malaking tulong na po yung kagaya sa akin na meron kong binubuhay na 2 anak.
Nag-decide na ako na patigilin si Mrs. para makafocus doon sa mga bata. Pag gumanda na po yung kita namin, sa habala, wala pang insurance yan.
Hindi naging madali ang daan. Lalo na sa umpisa.
You're going against 4136. Is Angkas above the law?
May mga nagduda.
Private motorcycles shall not be used to solicit assent or to be used to transport passengers.
Bumatikos.
Very possible for them to be blacklisted on their violations on the guidelines.
At nakipagkompetensya.
Sabi po ng dalawang participants,
pinipilit niyo yung pasahero sumakay sa mga ibang motorcycle taxi na hindi...
Gayunpaman, hindi tayo sumuko mula sa kalye,
dito tayo para sa karapatan nyo,
sa Kongreso at Senado hanggang sa Korte Suprema. Maging rally man yan o isang kantahan na selebrasyon, nagawa nating mamulat ang taong bayan sa ating adhikain at sa ating ipinaglalaban. Nagkaisa tayo para iparinig ang ating boses at ipaglaban ang ating kabuhayan at higit sa lahat, mabigyan ng dignidad ang ating propesyon. Sinamahan tayo ng ating mga kaibigan na celebrity, politiko, at iba pang mga personalidad mula sa iba't ibang larangan sa ating walang tigil na pagsusulong ng ating advokasya. At higit sa lahat, sinamahan tayo ng taong bayan, mga kapwa Pilipino na patuloy na nakikinabang sa ating serbisyo. Nagtagumpay tayo at ngayon, libo-libo na ang ating natulungan at nabigyan ng kakayang iahon ang kanilang buhay mula sa kahirapan. Marami na rin tayong nabigyan ng suporta sa gitna ng trahedya at sakuna. Nung sumabo ang taal, pumunta tayo para mag-abot ng ayuda. Nang mag-shutdown ng tren, pinauso natin ang libreng sakay sa mananakay. Napabuti rin natin ang buhay ng ating mga kababayan sa mga programa tulad ng Angkas Buhay at iba't ibang medical missions. Kahit nung nagsimula ng pandemic at lockdowns, todo ang ating suporta sa frontliners. Tumulong tayo sa pagsusulong ng health safety standards upang makabangon ng ekonomiya. Nagsagawa tayo ng iba't ibang programa sa bakuna para sa taong bayan. At naging tulay tayo para sa pagtutulungan kaugnay dito ng malalaking kumpanya sa pribadong sektor at ang pamahalaan. Naging mahirap man ang pinagdaanan, maganda pa rin ang naging bunga ng ating mga laban.
To recognize our awardees today, hats off to Angkas.
Malayo na ang narating natin at ngayong 2022, tuloy pa rin ang ating misyon na mas lalong maihatid ang oportunidad ng Angkas sa milyon-milyong kababayan na nangangailangan nito. Our mission is to eradicate poverty by showing them a better way in life. The Angkas Way. Tuloy tayo sa pagbago at sa pag-angat ng ating buhay at magandang kinabukasan ng ating kapwa Pilipino. Angkas, tara na!
Hi, everybody. How are you doing? So, I guess I'm one of your last segments, and I hope everyone is doing well. My name is George Royeca. I'm the CEO of Angkas, and I'm here to talk about our entrepreneurial journey, the Angkas journey. It's been, wow, an exhilarating ride. You know, a lot of really fulfilling moments, but a lot of stressful ones also. You know, I want to take you back to, sorry, let's go back. I want to take you back to a few years. I was having a birthday party. I was attending the birthday party of one of my bikers. And this is one of my top bikers. And it was funny because he was so excited I was there. And he said, we're not going to drink tanduay tonight. We're going to pull out the best stuff. It's going to be fundador. So this is not a plug for fundador. But he was just so excited and celebrating his birthday and how thankful he was that, you know, he was able to take care of his family. You know, around his place was quite messy. You know, it was being renovated. It was under construction. But you could see that after everything was finished, that it would be a beautiful home. On the side was his garage, and he was telling me that he was converting it to a motorcycle repair shop. So it was very fulfilling, quite awesome to see how he's expanding, he's diversifying his business, and you know, he was just, you know, really given a better chance in life. And while we were celebrating, it was late at night, my phone rings. And I look at my phone, and I'm like, I see my phone, and it's my lawyer. And you know, when your lawyer calls you late at night, you be sure that, you're very, very sure that it's not a good thing. So I took a deep breath, I answered the call, and then lo and behold, my lawyer said, George, we have a problem. The regulators went all the way up to the Supreme Court, and you gotta shut down again. And I'm like, wow, really extreme highs and lows within the same day. And that was a day in a life for me in Angkas. And I was telling my lawyer, what the Supreme Court, what can we do? Who can we go higher than the Supreme Court? Do we talk to the president? And why is it that we always get shut down right before Christmas? Right when our bikers need the income to take care of their families, and of course the commuters need this the most. So at that time, I was having this fight or flight response. Like, am I gonna do this all over again? Am I gonna fight just to have a shutdown another time? Or am I gonna flight? You know, my wife, my co-founder, our founder is Singaporean, and we could always go back to Singapore and live a cushy life. And you know, a lot of us are faced with this kind of problem wherein there's sometimes we go through life and there's an overwhelming set of problems that we believe we can't overcome. You know, it's just, this is so much insurmountable odds that's before us. You know, for me, it's when the government tries to shut us down, regulators try to give us a hard time, and just the overall regulatory climate for something that's new and innovative. For you, you know, it could be, you know, new technology that will render you obsolete, or even an employee that just quit on you, right? And you have no way of moving forward. So we are always faced with these problems. And, you know, that is something that we know will happen. But every time it happens to us, we still get shocked, right? We're like, oh my God, why is this happening? But you know, the next day, something really, really magical happened. You know, 30,000 bikers came out to the streets to fight for our cause, to fight for their cause, right? The commuters were outraged and they went to social media. And in a matter of hours, the hashtag #SaveAngkas became viral globally. Imagine a small brand that we created in the Philippines that nobody knew about was trending globally in Twitter within a few hours. And that's when I had that realization. The realization that we were doing something right. The realization that we had to fight. We had to take care of these guys, more than 30,000 families, and many more that needed job opportunities. And you know, after 6 years, 4 shutdowns, 3 by the government and 1 by COVID, we're still here, alive and kicking. Thank you. And stronger than ever. One thing that we realized, that I realized, every time we got shut down, every time we closed our business, when we reopened, we were bigger than what we were before. right? And it's, thank you. You know, and in the next 10 minutes, I will tell you three things I'll share with you in our entrepreneurial journey on how we can get to this point, on how we could achieve this type of persistence, this type of grit, these insurmountable odds. So the first thing I'm going to talk about is crystal clear vision. As crystal clear as the traffic that you see here in Carmageddon back in 2019, which we are already experiencing again, unfortunately. Now, you know, we set out very, very simply to beat the traffic. That's what we wanted to do, right? But eventually that changed. The first time we got shut down, we were in LTFRB. It was a hearing, and there was this girl there who was not our biker because it was a public hearing. Most of the people there were all our bikers, and there was this girl that I didn't know, and she was almost into tears. And then I was wondering what she was doing there, but she wanted to speak. So she said that she lived in Antipolo, and she was working in Mega Mall. She would wake up at 4 o'clock in the morning every day and get to work at 9 a.m. She would leave Mega Mall at 7 p.m. and get home at 11 p.m. The next day, rinse and repeat. The problem here was that she was a single mom. And this was the first time I realized what our mission was. I didn't know that you can be an OFW in your own city. And that's what traffic does. It is not just about congestion. It's not just about not getting from one place to another. It curtails your freedom. How many here live in Alabang or somewhere down south? Right? Now, think of if your boyfriend or your girlfriend was living in Valenzuela. That must be true love. Right? Because that, my dears, is a long-distance relationship. And it's not just about that. You know, we find it funny, but it's actually limiting your pool of your future family or future friends or people you hang out with. What about parents that look at the school of their kids not because of the merit, but because of the daily commute? And all of you guys, all of your employees, and you guys working for the company, what's the first thing that they ask you or you ask them? Where is the office? Right? Of course, with the we love the whole work from home, but you still gotta meet people. And congestion stifles that freedom. So we had that crystal clear vision of really getting that freedom, you know, giving back that freedom to people. And that was the cause and effect of us just really focused on beating the traffic, right? Now, in solving the traffic, we also stumbled on something really, really awesome, which was creating livelihood opportunities for our bikers. Our bikers would make 3 times the minimum wage. That's 1,500 pesos on average every single day. Some of them would make as much as 80,000 pesos a month, right? Just driving, just doing what they love. And because we set out on that crystal clear vision, for 6 years, all we were talking about was one thing: beating the traffic. Motorcycles are safe. It's a safe way of public transportation from getting you from A to B. And that's what we focused on, just that message discipline. And that is why we were able to achieve a lot of these things. Everything else was just the output of that, right? Getting back people's freedom, creating livelihood opportunities. Now, because of everything that's happened, we're confident enough to move on to our next crystal clear vision. We realize that every single person, every single biker in our platform, as long as they're on our platform, as long as we're able to get them to our platform, we get them out of the poverty level. We give them a chance to take care of their families. That's almost automatic. Every single biker in our platform, hindi naghihirap, right? They're having a good life, being able to take care of their families, even potentially doing other type of business opportunities. Just like my biker's birthday, his name is Ryan. And now that we've created a successful pilot in Metro Manila and Cebu, we saw that the addressable market was so much bigger. We have only 30,000 bikers in our platform, but there are 18 million motorcycle owners in the country. 99% of them are low income and using motorcycles as a side hustle. So we set out a new hefty goal. Our lofty goal right now is how do we create livelihood opportunities and extend the Angkas platform to 18 million motorcycles. And if we're successful, that's one step in the right direction to potentially ending poverty in our country. Imagine 18 million people being able to take care of their families. 18 million people having a decent livelihood in our platform, or somebody like us, not necessarily just our platform. But that is a huge sector. So that it has become our crystal clear vision. So what is the crystal clear vision for you guys? Number 2, uplift lives and communities. What we did in Angkas is not create a viable transport system. We didn't come and solve the traffic situation. What we did was invest in people. We took this sector, when everybody was telling them that's kamote, everybody was telling them those guys are dangerous. Everybody was telling us, you know, every time you ride an Angkas, half of your body is already buried underground. Buwis buhay is what they call them, which means you risk your life every time you ride a motorcycle. That was the negative connotation on motorcycles back then. But we decided, okay, to train them, to invest in them. We've failed 70% of applicants, but we trained more than 200,000 applicants. If we were a school, we'd be the largest school in the country. You know, a lot of people say, Filipinos, if they're abroad, they become superstars, they become this and that. Why is it they cannot be successful in the Philippines? It's about education, it's about training. What we've proven is very, very simple. If you train the Filipino well, if you really invest and equip them with the right tools, right? If you're serious about really investing in the Filipino people, then they will make you proud, then they will follow, then they will be productive citizens of the country. And I'm today proud to announce that after millions of rides, because we trained and invested in our people, our safety record is 99.997%. We have 0.003% accident rates after millions of rides. And that is when the regulators, they really couldn't do anything. Why? Because we were safer than condoms. Condoms in was only 97% safe. We're 99% safe. So if the government can trust condoms, definitely you can trust Angkas, right? And that's became our driving force. You know, what we did, we didn't really create motorcycle taxis. This was an existing informal economy. All we did was do a professional layer and professionalize them. There are other industries that you can professionalize. We are surrounded by entrepreneurs in the Philippines. Not the Mark Zuckerbergs, but every chopper ng jeep, every tricycle driver, right? Every sari-sari store owner, every masahista, every masseuse, they're all entrepreneurs. And they're all part of the informal economy. I was in a conference one time with a friend of mine from FMCG, and I actually scolded him a little bit because he was talking about 1.2 million sari-sari store owners that comprise the biggest channel of FMCG. And he kept referring to them as the informal sector. How is that your biggest channel, but you still call them informal? So, invest in people, build communities. There's a lot that you can do here in the Philippines. We have a lot of opportunities. And if you invest in people, my God, they will come back, they will pay it back for you, and they will really be able to lift up your business as well as other businesses as well. I'm telling you guys, doing good, trust me on this, it's a lucrative business. So figure out what good you can do to the people that you invest in today. Number 3, problems never ever go away, right? They never go away. Now, you can spend your time worrying about problems. 99% of us, 9 out of 10 people, they stress about having problems because they want problems to go away. That will never, ever, ever happen. The one thing that's constant is no matter what you do, problems will come your way. When you fix this problem, when you solve this problem, you can bet your ass there's going to be another problem right around the corner very, very quickly. So do your quick victory lap, do your quick victory dance, and focus on solving the next problem right away. Instead of stressing about why you're having so much problems, get better at solving them. Put all of your energy into fixing the problem. So forget about trying to make problems go away. You know, try to look at problems as if they were a game, right? In a game, I'm not dating myself, Mario Brothers, some of you may know it. But in a game, you go play the game, you die, and then you're excited to go back and play the game. Why? Because you have more knowledge about the level. You're equipped with the knowledge in how to beat the boss, and you know what happens in this particular part of the game, right? So why can't we do that with life? Why are we so afraid to make mistakes? Why are we so afraid to move forward? And why we become gun-shy when we fail? We have to treat life as a game. Because every time you fail, it's an opportunity for you to learn and go back and beat that level. And you guys, this is what we've been doing all this time, right? All we've been doing is a collection of solving problems one after the other. I'm not Superman, right? I'm not, a different person than anybody here. I'm just an ordinary person. I didn't wake up one day and started to create a movement or thought of creating a movement, right? But I can tell you one thing. I can tell you one thing for a fact. One man's courage can spark a movement, and you guys can do it too. You guys can do it too. It doesn't need, there's no such thing as a superhuman. It's just a different way of doing things. You just gotta be focused on what you're doing, and then you can make that happen, just like I did. People always tell me, George, how did you go through what you went through and still last? Given the circumstances, I won't be able to do that. The short answer is, of course you can. You definitely can be able to do that. The only thing that you need to think about are 3 things that I told you. First, it's important to know why you want to get to the other side. What is that crystal clear vision? What is that why for you? Number 2, stop stressing or dreaming about a business without any problems. My wife always said that, hey, I just want a less stressful business, selling toilet bowls. Until we literally found a friend that sold toilet bowls and told us his set of problems. Everybody will have that. So embrace it and get better solving at it. And now that you know that life is going to be hard, no matter what you do, professional or personal, right? If you're going to put up a business, if you're going to push and innovate somewhere, it's going to be very difficult. You might as well solve a real problem. And I promise you, if you solve a real problem that people want solved, that people need a solution to, they'll glad you pay you for it. I'm telling you, solving people's problem is a lucrative business. Doing good is an even better business. So, ending my talk, I want for you guys to do 3 things, right? Picture a day, all right? Picture it in your head. Picture a day when nothing phases you, when you can face any type of difficulty, right, and you don't get overwhelmed by it. I want you to picture that. I want you to picture a day when people start going up to you, people, your friends, your family, random people, and say, oh my God, I envy you for being so calm or being able to go through any crisis. Picture a day when you're excited, right, looking forward to the next problem, because that is an opportunity for growth. Because before, we actually pictured the day wherein we took on this challenge. You guys know what this is? This is a Skylab. For the foreigners out there, there's a wooden plank on each side. They have like 10, 15 people riding one motorcycle, 2 wheels, and they go up a mountain. That is skill right there. But that is also damn dangerous. And we pictured the day a few years back where we took on the challenge to turn this into this. I want to end you with 2 questions. I want to end this talk with 2 questions. Sorry, not end you. End this talk with 2 questions. These 2 questions is, first, what is your goal in life today? What is your objective? Professional, let's call it professional objective. Think about it. You want to have $1 million, you want to help 1 million people, you want to have a successful company, you want to have a successful business, you want to go IPO. That's your goal, right? Think about that goal right now. And I'll ask you a second question, tweak it a little bit. Now, think about what your goal in life is if you believe that you can do no wrong, if you believe that you can never fail at what you do. What is your new goal now? Isn't it much higher? Isn't it now a little bit different? You see, it's all in your head. Everything that you do is in your head. Your will and determination is endless in your head, as well as the limitation that put yourself. So please, I hope that you guys learned a little bit on the Angkas journey, and you set on in your own journey to help a sector, people, or find a solution. Because entrepreneurs are always problem solvers. So go ahead and solve somebody's problem today. Thank you very much, guys. Have a good day.
Thank you very much, George Royeca, for that inspiring and insightful talk. Now, diving back into the world of NFTs, we are fortunate to have the Philippines' first NFT artist as one of the core team members behind the Philippine Web3 Festival. We are super proud to have Luis Buenaventura, better known as CryptoPop in the NFT scene, lead a conversation on how Filipino NFT creators are tapping into global audiences. Joining CryptoPop are Shelly Soneja, AJ Di Marucot, Cherie Gotwako of Scarlet Box, and Sevi of Sevi Loved Art fame. Sevi will join us briefly to say hi, but like many great artists, he is a little bit shy, so his mom, April Agregado, will remain on stage to respond on his behalf.
Okay, good afternoon, everyone. We still say GM, even though it's the afternoon. My name is Luis. Again, I'm the country manager of YGG Pilipinas. We're going to kind of change it up a little bit for this panel. I've long believed that NFT art opens up opportunities for just about everyone, especially here in the Philippines. And what we have here is a panel of, honestly, the most interesting people in the space. So what we're going to do is we're going to ask a couple of questions to each of them. But we're going to start with Sevi just because he's clearly the coolest kid here. I'm going to say, hey, Sevi, how are you doing? How old are you now, Sevi?
I'm 10 years old.
He's 10 years old. So Sevi is 10 years old. And when Sevi first started in NFT art, his mom had an eagle painting of Sevi that they wanted to turn into an NFT with me, and we were kind of working together in collaboration. Hey Sevi, that's your favorite NFT, right? The eagle one, the one that we did together.
Yes.
Okay. Okay, sorry, we have some questions for you, Sevi. How did you, what is your first NFT art piece that you created?
The first one. That coil painting.
Okay, so his very first painting was a koi painting. It was done oil on canvas, yes, correct? And you know, honestly, so I'm very humbled by Sevi's work because he's already got more control at age, I guess that was age 9 when he did it, or age 8? Oh, 6. Okay, that makes me feel really bad. So Sevi was 6 years old when he made this koi painting. He already had more control over the medium that I had at possibly 36. So that was very humbling for me to see this work. Last question for Sevi. This one's a planted question. What would you say is your greatest achievement in art so far?
My greatest achievement is sharing my paintings all over the world, like network. I mean New York, like New York Times Square.
New York Times Square, guys. I don't know about you, but that's a pretty damn big achievement for someone who's barely a decade old. Okay, so I want to introduce our other panelists also. Shelly Soneja is a good friend of mine from, I think we've known each other for a good 10 years now, at least, no?
Yeah, pretty long.
Yeah, okay. You want to tell everyone how you got started in NFTs?
Okay, so I actually started with NFTs in 2018. It wasn't crypto art. It was actually through work. I was doing art for blockchain games and NFT games. And so it was Gabby, because he was my boss at that time. And he was the one who introduced me to the world of cryptocurrency. And then I learned about CryptoKitties. And I learned about digital scarcity. And the whole thing just blew my mind. And then it was in 2020 when I started minting my own crypto art. Yeah.
Did you, you actually quit your day job, didn't you?
Yes, I did.
So
Last year.
You're no longer working for Gabby.
Yes.
Okay, all right. Cool. Sherry Gotoako, please tell us about Scarlet Box and what you guys are doing over there.
All right. You know, blue chip art historically has appreciated over the centuries, and it will continue to do so. And I'm talking about real life blue chip art by a lot of masters and artists. And blue chip real life art is very rare, and it's very few in the NFT space for a few reasons. One, that kind of level of artists, there's not that many of them. Also, many of them, some have passed away. Some, you know, that are living do not understand NFTs. And for those that are living, it may be a lot of risk, you know, to get into NFTs because they have a lifetime work of achievement. So one thing we realized was that it takes skill, execution, and being able to know how to talk to them. So that's what we do with Scarlet Box. We onboard blue chip artists, and we create beautiful one-of-ones through collaborations so that these arts that are normally inaccessible and unaffordable to many, sometimes they cost millions of dollars, no? That's hundreds of millions of pesos, will now be available to more people. And most important, we're able to bridge the generations through arts and culture. Because a lot of the younger generations will not be able to know the legacy and the works of these artists because they are in galleries or in museums and in collectors' homes, so not available to most people. So that's what we would like to do.
Here's a question for April, Sevi's mom. I guess I just wanted to kind of get maybe your story about what it was like getting into NFTs for the first time for you. Like, what was the experience minting? What was it like? Your first sale, you know, things like that.
Well, when we started out, it was very. I was a little anxious because obviously, Sevi was very young. He was only 8 when we entered the space in March of 2021. And there weren't a whole lot of kids in the space. We
I don't
came
think there were
across,
any kids.
There were. You'd be surprised. There were kids. Nyla of Nyla Collection. She is the Times first artist in residence. She's 13 years old. So we had to come across her, and there were a few other young artists who were there. But obviously, the majority of the space were well-established artists, digital artists. And here comes Mom wanting to share her son's work with the world. I mean, you know, we were happy to share it from our Facebook pages, whatever he would come out with every week during art therapy. And really, it was just that. We wanted to share his work and how, because of art, he has developed so much because he was painting, and it required a lot of concentration, and that really helped him a lot.
I've always thought that April was Sevi's #1 fan. And I guess that's a mom's job, no? And I think I've always been impressed about how, you know, through the years, the Twitter account Sevi Loves Art has become a very big part of Crypto Art PH. Like very active in our events and stuff like that. I'll bring this back to Shelly. What do you think the role of community is in kind of NFT art locally?
Well, when we talk about community, like if we talk about, when I think automatically about the local context, you know, Because community, you would say that like bayanihan, right? Then that's a local word for like, you know, community spirit. And like what you can see with the local community is that like everybody is like so supportive of one another, you know? Like, and when we talk about bayanihan, you know, when we look at all like the natural disasters, all the tragedies that happen in the country, you see Filipinos, even if they have very little, they will, you know, offer to help. They will, you know, give what they can. And then you see that here locally as well. Like, if you think about it, like if you compare us to like developing countries, we have a lot of things against us. So like we have poor internet infrastructure, right? And then sometimes people struggle with electricity. But, you know, we always show up. You know, we show up for one another, and then that's, you know, the spirit of community of like I think for Philippines, yeah.
Okay, we're going to take a quick break here because AJ Dimarukot is going to finally be able to join us on stage. He had to drive all the way from Tagaytay, I believe, in order to make it here.
Yeah, sorry, I thought it was early for 4:30.
No, it's all right. So I'm going to ask you the same question that I opened the panel with. How old are you?
Older than you, much older. I have white hair. I have more white hair than you.
Okay,
I wish I
sorry.
had blonde hair.
Sige, let me just do this na lang. AJ, please tell us a little bit about yourself and how you got into NFT art.
Is Gabby here?
Yes, but possibly not in the room
Well,
right
anyway, I don't know if you know of this guy named Gabby Dizon. Probably. I'm sure you've heard of this thing called Clubhouse when the pandemic started. So that's how we met, I think, also. I hung out in this app called Clubhouse, and then there was this guy named Gabby in this NFT room who started talking about NFTs. And I said, oh, he's Filipino. I should ask him about NFTs. And he said, oh, AJ, I think I know you from somebody. And he said, you should make NFTs, and I'm going to buy your first 3 NFTs if you make them. And it took me like 2 weeks to figure out how to do all of that. And he told me, AJ, you spend so much time on Clubhouse, nothing's going to happen to you. And so it challenged me to actually create my first 3 NFTs. And it was on Foundation where you have to bid on the NFTs. And Gabby bidded on 3. And I'm like, I think 0.25 ETH at that time. And then he got outbidded, like two of my NFTs, he got outbidded by like an ETH or like 1.25 ETH at that time. But for the last one, he really wanted it. And he said, I'm going to get this. So he paid like 2.25 ETH at that time. And I'm like, yeah.
Nice.
So that was my intro to.
Nice.
And I haven't sold anything since then. No,
Nice.
I sold a couple, but yeah. So Gabby's my main buyer and supporter.
Art patron. Yeah, everyone needs an art patron. Sherry, actually, this is an interesting point because so AJ was just saying about how it took him about 2 weeks to kind of figure out that process for himself. No, like, and I imagine with Scarlet Box, one of your goals is so that the artists don't really have to think about that process anymore. No? Like, how do you onboard artists in Scarlet Box? Like, what's that experience like?
A lot of the blue chip artists, to be able to onboard them, you need to have sort of a relationship or trust with them. Otherwise, if I didn't know them beforehand, I think I would still be knocking at their door and nothing would be happening, especially if I talk about NFTs. But because I've had previous relationship, we worked with them through our fashion line before. So I was able to build credibility and relationship. So when I discussed it with them and what it is and what it could do and how their legacy can be known by the younger generations and be appreciated and their story and their works. And the nice thing about NFTs, you can make it very immersive. There's music, there's animation, there can be spoken word. So the story that you have can be told better. And we put them into the digital frames, which I showed them, so that people can display it in their homes or in their offices. So things like that, there's a physical aspect, so something like that also makes it easier for them to understand.
Shelly, tell us about some of the projects that you're working on right now.
So I'm an art director for this PFP collection project called Degenerates. So it's like 10,000.
DJ Eneritz.
Yeah,
huh? That's how you
it's
spell it. Yeah.
DJ Eneritz. So it's based on nightlife, clubbing, DJs. So it was a sold out collection, and then it evolved into like this talent launch pad. So recently we had this contest. It's an international DJ contest where the winner, so you have to buy a DJen to join. So the winner gets flown off to Amnesia Ibiza to perform. So yeah, so we had that contest and it concluded. And then that's something that my partner, Hipworth, the founder, is continuing to push forward with it. And yeah, so I also created like portraits of big name, iconic DJs like Carl Cox, Paul Van Dyke, Ben Benassi. Yeah.
Nice.
And
Okay, so I guess this is the question that I want to kind of bring to everyone now. And this one's like, it's usually the question that people ask in panels like this. How does the average artist get started in NFTs? Because this title is all about global audience. Now, I think one of the reasons why NFT art is so attractive to Filipinos is because Filipinos don't really have reach normally, because we're kind of very limited by our own geography. Like if you live in Cebu, you often have a hard time even just marketing to Manila. So if you live in Manila, you have a hard time marketing to the other cities in the world. But NFTs kind of remove that barrier to a certain extent. So it sounds very attractive, no, to your average Filipino artist. But what do you think is the experience right now? Has it gotten easier for a first-time artist to get into this stuff? Can I start with you, AJ?
So the question, is it easier with NFTs?
Yeah, has it become easier?
Yes and no, because NFTs just adds another, because there's the internet, right? Which really helped, at least me personally in my own career, being able to work with global brands outside the Philippines, in countries that I've never been in. But NFTs just adds exponentially another level to the internet essentially. But the no part is really it's just so hard to figure out the wallets and all that initially for an artist or a non-tech person. But like I said earlier, 2 weeks, I couldn't put my mind around figuring it out, but I just did it, ask some people. If there aren't a lot of people who will help you out, or other artists who are patient enough to help out and, figure out what the wallets are, I think it's a bit hard. With First Mint Fund, where we were supporting artists to mint their first ever NFT here in the Philippines, it took us about 4 hours to mint the works of 14 people. And that was all over. That was all on Discord. So it's yes, but it's still a bit difficult, I think.
So you would say it's a little bit early, in other words.
It's early.
Yeah. Yeah. April, do you have any thoughts on this?
Well, certainly the Twitterverse is a lot bigger than my personal Facebook. But I do believe that because of NFTs, it's much easier to share art. Yes, you kind of have to work with the algorithm or against the algorithm, but if you find your community and your 1,000 people to help you get your work out there, you have your patrons, and their reach, it gets spread more easily. So in that sense, it is easier, but you do have to put the work in to share your story, share your art, show up every day, notwithstanding what's happening in your real life, right? So that's part of it. And thanks to people like First Mint Fund, who helps artists with their first mint, and even collectors and the community members that we were reaching out to. I was DMing Colin and Gabby. Am I doing this the right way? I mean, imagine DMing them, is this the right wallet to ask, to use? And they're helpful that way. So it's definitely about finding your tribe, your community, who will help you share your work. You have small groups on Twitter or on Discord, and they say, oh, pa-tweet naman, pa-retweet naman, pa-like, pa-share. So that's part of it. So that really helps a lot.
Okay. Sherry?
Right. It's actually, your question is timely because we had the minting and marketing session last night, a side event for which together with First Mint Fund also and Web3 Fest on how new artists will be onboarded. And our panel last night said a few interesting things. One is try to make sure that your art is unique so that it just doesn't look like whatever's in the, out there, so that you stand out. Also, like what April said, second, they said is look for a community that you belong to. Let's say for Philippines, it can be Crypto Art PH, Filipinas NFT, and many other groups. So there's different kinds of vibes, but very, very inclusive. So, so what community you belong to, and which platform you'd like to use. They recommended Rarible. They also recommended OpenSea last night, and they also discussed about what chain. So they said Ethereum, Tezos, and Near for the Filipinos. No, a lot
I
of the
noticed
Filipinos.
Solana isn't one of the choices anymore, but okay.
These are maybe that's a fourth. Yeah. So those were the things that they mentioned, and some of them recounted that by selling NFTs, let's say if it's an international buyer or someone who's paying in dollars, it's much higher than if they were to sell it just locally. So that's the experience of some of them.
Shelly?
Yeah, so one thing about like when I first started, hello? Yeah, okay. So when I first started, so the community was like really small, right? So I was lucky that I had like Gabby teach me the ropes. But I think now it's a bit easier, I think, for people to find resources because like what April mentioned, it's all about the community. So you have to tap into those communities. And then I think there's so many people who are willing to help and guide. But there really is still that friction, right? With like people who are really not familiar with tech and to still wrap their head around the technology. And because I think even like last night I was talking to two musicians who wanted to get into NFTs, and then I was really trying to explain to them like how it works, They kind of get it, but then, it has to be like really like a little more in-depth session for them to wrap their heads around it, like especially for people who have no idea, like, about the tech or are not tech savvy at all. Yeah.
All right. So we've only got 1 minute left, so I guess I'll just do a quick one here. Where can people find you online? Where can people follow you? And also, shill one project that is not your project. Okay, you've got 15 seconds to think about this. Can I start with you, AJ?
I guess you can find me on firstmintfund.com. I think, yeah, firstmintfund.com. If you are an artist or designer in the Philippines or Southeast Asia and you would just want to try minting your first NFT, we'll give you funds for your first NFT mint. And shilling, I would definitely shill the people that we've supported. So technically, it's not my project, but they've been supported by First Mint Fund. Sevi here, whose art is amazing, and along with a lot of the other artists that we've supported. So check out our website, firstmintfund.com, or find us on Twitter, and you'll find a lot of first minters who haven't sold their first NFTs yet.
Nice.
So yeah, make someone happy, buy their NFTs.
Thank you. Thank you. April?
Yes, Sevi's account is Sevi Loves Art on Twitter. Sevi's artist, and I am the momager, so I am his voice on all his social media accounts. And yeah, we are very, very grateful to everybody who has helped Sevi get his work out there, share his story, but most of all, First Mint Fund, because if it wasn't for First Mint Fund, for AJ, for Gabby, for Colin, and everybody else who has donated to the fund, this wouldn't have happened because they removed that wall that prevented us from jumping into the space, because it was a lot of money back then to mint artwork, $200 to mint artwork, and having the funds from First Mint Fund really allowed us to enter the space risk-free, so to speak, and just allowed us to enjoy the journey without any hesitation, because we didn't have to shell out anything for it. So please do check out and support First Mint Fund, the artists, and if you want to donate to the fund, please do so.
Awesome. Sherry?
Right. You can check out ScarletBox.io on Twitter. I'm usually, I man that, but I'm also at Sherry Gotuaco. Twitter, and I'd like to shill all the artists. Please support them, whether Filipinos and others, especially newcomers. Also, my panelists, they're all talented artists, AJ, Sevi, and Shelly, and Luis. Because when you support artists, you create that ecosystem, you let them improve on their craft, and sometimes the art that you buy appreciates. And right now, contemporary art has really outstripped its 13.5% annual increase versus S&P and all the other indexes. So there you go.
Thank you. Shelly?
So you can find me on Twitter. Hello? Yes. So Shelly Saneha on Twitter, and then I just finished my own website at shellysaneha.com, so you can check out all the projects that I've been involved in my portfolio, or if you want to get in touch with me to work on a project, contact me there. Hello? Hello? Projects that I want to shill. Hello? Okay. Would be anything by Crypto Art PH. There's this gallery exhibit showing right now, I think in the mezzanine. Hello. Anything that they produce, I would encourage people to support. There's up and talent, amazing artwork, you give people, Filipino artists, they're big break, I mean, I'm of the opinion that if you support Filipino artists, the money will go to a good place. Filipinos would love to, they will support their family, they will support each other, and it's never a wrong investment to invest in the Filipino artists.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Shelly. Guys, the Galleria Paloma NFT art exhibit is ongoing downstairs in the mezzanine level. As you come up from the escalators from the ground level, you'll see it immediately. It's on all 3 days of this festival. Please do check it out, and please give our panel a big round of applause. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Luis Buenaventura, April and Sevi Agregado, Shelly Soneja, AGT Marupot, and Sherry Gotuaco. With the continuing expansion of interest in Web3, DeFi, and NFTs, we look to the bastions of regulation, the on and off ramps that we all use to convert between peso and our magical internet money. We are joined by Mark Goriseta, an award-winning legal professional who specializes in technology to lead a conversation about how centralized exchanges are approaching the world of Web3 in the Philippines. Mark is joined by Nichel Gaba of PDAX, Wei Zhou of Coins.ph, Kenneth Stern of Finance Philippines, and Farah Rodriguez of the Amber Group.
Okay, wow, full house for this panel. So I'll leave it up to this gentleman and lady if we would want to make this panel controversial or not. Okay, so, hi everyone, good afternoon. So it's a bit awkward for me and also a bit also comfortable since all of these are my friends and all of them as well are my clients in the law firm. So I'm Mark Goriseta. I'll be your moderator for this afternoon's panel for this session. So I guess since while awkward, and while I also can't assume that all of you would know the companies here, while I'm sure most do, and since we have a diverse group of attendees here, gentleman and lady, can you tell us first very quickly about your company and what you do in your current role? So yeah, Farah.
Sure. Well, good afternoon, everyone. I'm Farah Rodriguez from the Amber Group. I'm the country manager for the Philippines, and Amber Group is a Singapore-based digital wealth management company. So we specialize in market making, trading, offering yield products as enablers for exchanges, also for retail. So we launched our own platform available on the web and as an app. It's called Whalefin. You can easily download typical buy, sell, trade, earn on your crypto using Whalefin. Yeah.
Thank you, Farah. So Farah is from the Amber Group, and we're very happy to have Amber in this panel. Thank you, Ken.
Hi, everyone. Good afternoon. My name is Ken Stern. I'm the GM for Binance Philippines. So Binance is the world's largest crypto exchange, and we are also one of the largest Web3 ecosystems. We control about 70% of global liquidity and about 40% of daily trading volume. But we're much more than just the exchange. We have a launch pad, we have an academy, we have a coin marketplace, a number of other profitable businesses. So yeah, we are
Right.
Binance.
Who doesn't know Binance, right? Not too shabby for your intro, for your company. So thanks, Ken. Wei, welcome.
Hey everybody, my name is Wei Cho. I'm the CEO for Coins.ph. We are the oldest crypto exchange here in the Philippines. Hopefully everybody bought their Bitcoin early with coins from back in the day. But the current management team, we took over the company earlier this year. And then hopefully we'll have a lot more exciting new products rolling out for all of our users here.
Thanks, Wei. Nichel from PDAX.
My name is Nichel. I'm founder and CEO of PDAX. So we're one of the licensed crypto exchanges locally. We also have a licensed securities brokerage, and we're also an EMI. We mainly cater to institutions, but also have a web and retail, web and mobile app.
Thank you, Nichel. So before I start my questions, can we give a round of applause to our panel, PDAX, Binance, Coins.ph, and Amber for being here. Some, or if not, like some of the biggest exchanges in the world. So, okay, I'll start with my first question. Probably not too controversial, but probably depending on how you will answer this question could lead to that. So, okay, let's start. Wei, Nichel, or anyone who would want to answer this, you all belong to centralized exchanges or exchanges that are governed by an entity. So compared to a decentralized exchange or exchanges, what do you think are the pros and cons of a centralized exchange? And in the long run, which exchange do you think would remain, or if possible, can these two exchanges continue to coexist, and how? Wei, do you want to start with that?
Yeah, I think the entire crypto universe, I think, is actually pretty small right now when you compare it to the entire sort of like fiat universe. So it's like when you pit, like, I think centralized businesses against decentralized businesses, it's like two little ponds fighting each other out in like this little small pond. I think like what we have to sort of worry, what we really have to do to really is to actually how to make our pond bigger. Because we're all just small fishes in a big pond, right? Even if Binance, they're still small fishes compared to, like, you know, they're pretty big, but they're like a sharks, you know, in our pond. So I think the goal for us is actually how to make our pond bigger to grow into an ocean, and how do we let more water into the pond, right? The water in this case basically has money situated in the fiat world, and I think to do that, you need two things. I think one, you need to basically teach how to users what is decentralization, right? Not fake decentralization. The true decentralization is basically, you know, when you actually own your own, when you have custody of your own assets. I think that's something that everybody in this world is learning, like, you know, like drinking from a fire hydrant this week. Like, what is true decentralization, right? I don't have to go too much detail about that. But in terms of where sort of the centralization plays in sort of the crypto exchange world, or, you know, is basically, I think it comes down to basically who's your counterparty. Like, who is this party that I am sending money into? And I think, you know, over the last like week, everybody's going to go and look at your term of use or your term of service. Like, who when I click agree, who am I clicking with? Like, what entity am I clicking agree with? And what is the regulator behind, what is the regulation or the laws that govern that entity, such that when shit hits the fan, there's like a recourse for me to go after them, right? To go after my money. I think that's that's sort of like, these are the sort of like, you know, I would say more apt way. I don't think decentralization and centralization compete against each other, because we're all trying to grow the entire ecosystem together.
Thanks, Wei. Ken, thoughts of like Binance on this matter? Centralized versus decentralized, which I'm sure you know where you belong.
You know, I actually think that's a good point, that it's not about the market share, but it's about the size of the pie itself and growing that. So, you know, I think our perspective on decentralized exchanges for centralized exchanges, it's really preference also of the user. I think that it's important to, you know, create some adoption for people to try crypto exchanges out for the first time. And centralized exchanges do offer that user experience that I think decentralized exchanges don't offer. There's, you know, the security level. Binance, for example, has a insurance fund called SAFU, which you wouldn't get from a decentralized exchange that is over $1 billion at this point. There's a full KYC zero tolerance policy. So we do have a number of, I think, resources that help give trust to first-time users, and I think that's really going to be the growth of the pie that Wei just mentioned.
Right, I could see, as you could, if you heard from Ken, it's like, of course, centralized exchanges, you would have KYC, a lot of compliance tools, right? And of course, compliance matters as well.
Correct.
So anything to add, Nichel or Farah?
Well, maybe I would say that I actually don't see a scenario where the two won't coexist, right? I do think that the pros and cons highlighted earlier were spot on. For centralized exchanges, the biggest pro obviously is that centralized entities are more nimble when it comes to user experience, and obviously the way we use crypto evolves over time, and it's not easy to think that decentralized exchanges can easily cope with that. But you also have to think about the risks of centralized exchanges, right? So the biggest risk in centralized exchanges is what materialized recently and in every other exchange, probably since Mt. Gox that have under. So I guess we will eventually live in a world where we would have exchange wallets for when we need liquidity, when we want the seamless experience of using our crypto. But we will also have our own hardware wallets, maybe, or we would have our wallets tattooed on our backs. So I think we'll reach a point where both are
Correct.
coexisting.
So these two exchanges, centralized and decentralized, would really exist. Farah, you wanna coexist? I mean, Farah, you wanna add?
Yeah, very quickly, Attorney Mark. I agree with Nichel that these will coexist in the long term and in the future. I just wanted to add that based on my personal experience, having worked on decentralized projects before Amber Group, which is a centralized project, I've interviewed a number of Filipinos, different types of users, and it's really a preference, as Ken mentioned. Some people would really want to take full control of their digital assets, but there would also be people who would simply want a 24/7 reliable customer support.
Right.
That centralized exchanges, it's pretty standard to have, right? So at the end of the day, they will coexist, I believe, and that it's a matter of preference, depending on your level or appetite for risk, and I think ultimately the trust that you are willing to give the company or the project or the protocol.
Perfect. Thank you, Farah. Fantastic. So, wow. So with that perfect seg to my next question, and I just really want to get this out of the room already, right? This question. And I won't direct this question to anyone. This question, it's a voluntary basis. So I want to talk about this entire FTX saga, right? So anyone can answer this. It's up to you. So, but I guess like everyone here wants also to hear your thoughts. If you can share, like we hear a lot of stories on what has been happening, what is happening. We've been in a panel last week, Ken, Wei, and Nichel, we don't even know what's happening in the next 48 hours. Everything changed in 72 hours, 36 hours, 1 week, 5 days, I don't know. But briefly, can you share with us, anyone, what you really think happened with FTX and how it can affect the Philippine market, if it will? That's one. And two, how it will affect the global market as a whole, or even the global crypto market. And I guess the last question there would be, how can we prevent this from happening again? Again, FTX, what's the story? What happened really there? How will this affect us? And how can we prevent this from happening again? It's up to you, whoever wants to answer.
I guess everyone wants to hear my thoughts on it.
Okay, wow.
So I'll just go ahead and
Binance is answering first.
So no one's stepping up, so I'll... so yeah, unfortunately, I wasn't part of the deal itself, and I actually don't have any visibility on what happened, over the last week or so. I do know that I think the market will always correct bad actors, and I think that generally we want compliant professional organizations in this ecosystem, which will naturally happen through the market. How will this affect the world? You mentioned the crypto industry. It's obviously not good for anyone within the industry. It questions the integrity. It questions our stance, even the good actors on the stage. So
Correct.
it's not a positive thing. And your last question was.
How do you prevent this
How
from
do we
happening?
so I think really this ties into regulation. Would be my personal opinion on this. I think that if there were more regulation, more laws, more legislation around cryptocurrency, maybe when it's been a bit more transparent. This obviously won't be the last time this will ever happen in the industry, and you don't know if it's the last time this year this will happen. But I think more regulation is something that is needed because of things like this.
Thanks, Ken. Anyone?
Yeah, well, I think with regards to what happened to FTX, we have enough publicized information. It seems pretty clear that even FTX itself has admitted that there's been some operational probably misbehaviors here and there. So I do think that it's an unfortunate incident, right? A lot of people certainly lost a lot of money. Maybe upwards of $50 billion are still stuck in FTX. But I also think that in a way this is a necessary development, right? It's somewhat of a wake-up call, right? Regulators, I guess, for a long time have been happy to play in a well-defined world and kind of like try to shoo away the crypto industry. But now they really have to take some ownership here too, right? The reason that we're seeing large unregulated platforms grow so rapidly is because we don't have enough defined regulatory frameworks in the legitimate space to cater to the market. Now, will this happen again? I hope not. But what's fortunate here is that this is very preventable, right? Mankind has already figured out the solution to prevent these things from happening. You just look at the stock market, right? You don't see the Philippine Stock Exchange lending out assets because they're an exchange. They're supposed to facilitate transactions between a buyer and a seller. With brokers, you also don't see them take risk, right? They buy, they sell, end of story. Dealers, on the other hand, they take some risk, right? And we accept that. So I think that going forward, we're going to see a lot of the segregation of roles in traditional markets applied to the crypto markets, where you could have a custodian, you could have a broker, a dealer, you could have exchanges, and everyone won't probably have the same jitters as we do now.
Right, so that's another topic altogether, right? The intersection of TradFi, traditional finance, and decentralized finance, and of course, as a result of what happened. Anyone else? Oh, Wei?
Yeah, I'll jump in here. I actually know Sam personally. Met him when I was at Binance back in December 2018. I actually know CZ quite well. He's my old boss. Worked for him for about 3+ years. So my take on this is actually, I think this is about a breach of trust. It's basically like when you interact with somebody, it goes back to what I said, like when you send your money to somewhere, right? There is that counterparty that you send your money to, right? That's sort of at the heart of this business, right? How do you build trust? Well, I build trust with my bank because every time I put my money in, I can take my money out. Same thing, you build that relationship with your exchange, right? When I used Trust Wallet or when I used decentralized wallet like MetaMask for the first time, I had no idea where the money was, but I knew I could move it, and by the fact that I can move it anytime I want without anybody's approval, like that taught me that, hey, this is a trustless system, right? So at the end of the day, I think when we talk about trust, you can trust 3 things in crypto. You can trust the code, you can trust the law, or you can trust the man. And in this situation, there's a significant breach of trust between Sam and all of his users. Why? Because you got an MIT kid, smart, brainiac, whose parents are law professors from Stanford,
really?
Who's backed by some of the most recognizable names and funds in the world, and people build trust that way, right? And guess what he did? He broached that trust, right? And I think that system kind of remains today. Is like, you got to trust something, right? Otherwise, you won't be able to get your asset out, right? And I think sort of like, and what we found this time is that the code he fucked with, right? He built a back door, and laws obviously didn't care about because he didn't care. Right? So at the end of the day, there's a breach of trust between Sam, the person, right, who runs this entire platform, and all of his users. Right? And I think at the end of the day, we have to sort of come back to what I said earlier, sort of like, do you trust the code? Do you trust the law? Or do you trust the man? And I think that's what you really have to think about when you sort of like send your money out. So it comes down to that. Yeah.
Correct. You want to add?
Yeah, quickly, attorney. My personal takeaway from all of this is, I think when one company in our industry collapses, it's barely a win for a competitor or anyone at all. When consumer confidence is shaken, every one of us would have to rebuild on that trust. So it's a call for higher standards to self-regulate. So on an internal level, just put higher standards. Also to be prudent with the funds of our customers. And lastly, to work together with regulators, with players to make things better. It's in our best interest.
Right. Yeah, I totally agree. So I think in several talks, we think that while we have enjoyed, and we will still enjoy past years, we've enjoyed years of innovation, and I think that will continue. But personally, I think 2023 would be a year of regulation, right? And also a year wherein really to separate the legitimate players from the not so legitimate players. And with that, let's now go to our next question. You talked about trust and regulation, right? So my next question is, to any of you, probably we can start with Wei or Ken. How much regulation is too much regulation? Or conversely, how much regulation is too little regulation? So this is specifically to draw from your global and or local experience in being able to secure regulatory approval and in working with the regulators towards having compliant platforms and products. So what's the trend globally and in Southeast Asia or in the Philippines and that you've experienced firsthand? And if the Philippine regulators are here now or can hear you, what's in your wish list? So what's too much, what's too little regulation, and what's in your wish list?
Yeah, I'll jump on this one. I think from a regulation perspective, there's dumb regulation, there's no regulation, and there's smart regulation. I mean, it's pretty much, right? And then in terms of smart regulation, well, people have had crypto exchanges and have had cryptocurrency ownership for the last, it's been 10 years or 15 years. It's been 2008, 2009 since Bitcoin's been founded, right? So the digital asset cryptocurrency has been around for a long time, right? And the lawmakers and the regulators have, to say that, they're just learning about this industry is bullshit, right? They've had plenty of time to learn about this industry, right? So coming back to sort of what I said earlier, is that I think from a regulation perspective, there's key things you have to care about, right? The original points, the talking points for regulation is actually custody, right? You are a custodian of user assets, right? That is the most important thing for digital asset businesses. You are a custodian of user assets. What does the law say about custody, right? What does the law say about anti-money laundering, right? Those are the fundamental building blocks of the financial asset class, right? And if you want to run a regulated business, those are the two key things that people care about from a regulatory perspective. I think from what we've seen from the FTX scenario is, hey, like Nichel said, maybe we got to bring in some of these stock exchange or equity exchange, stock exchange practices on fair dealing, right? I think that's something that we need to start caring about. You can't trade against your customers, right? That's pretty straightforward, right? But the third point, whereas I think some regulators have cared too much about the differences between utility token and security token. I mean, that discussion has been in place since the beginning of tokens, since Ethereum started doing smart contracts. Hey, guess what? If you don't even have custody right, and you don't have fair practices right, what's a utility and what's a security? It doesn't really matter that much, right? These are startups issuing tokens. They're startup tokens. You can call them whatever you want, right? You're investing in a startup. It's just that instead of equity, it's tokens, right? If it works out, you can make a lot of money. If it doesn't, it go to zero. Tell people that, right? Educate people on the risks involved in that, right? Beyond that, you know what? Everybody can put in $50,000, right? It's just sort of put a number on it. Cap people's losses or something like that, right? So I think that in my mind is smart regulation. Focus on the key things and then keep it consistent. And then you modify over time, right? So I think from a regulatory perspective, what we've seen in the US is actually a lack of clarity has actually caused a lot of this. Because I think the people that actually lost the most money on FTX are actually American institutions, American LPs, and American funds.
Right, very interesting. So I guess from that, my own takeaway is that really differentiate or have clarity on the really loss on custody. Of course, have a more robust AML standards or compliance. And I guess third, I like that point, Wei, on really not dwell whether, let's say, a token is a security or an investment contract, right? and like allow, let's say, startups to do their thing, but probably put a cap. Makes sense. Makes a lot of sense, even as a securities lawyers like me, lawyer like me. Yeah, Nichel?
Yeah, so I guess my short answer to this is that if we see the industry destroy $50 billion in value twice in 1 year, there's definitely room for somebody to step in. Now, the long answer is that I'm sure it's very difficult to balance a lot of interests here, right? You have to consider the growth of the industry on the one hand and also protecting consumers on the other. Now, that is a very hard calculus to make, and probably there are better minds out there to figure out what the happy compromise is. But for me, one thing is quite clear. There's too much regulation if there's not enough enforcement to align with the amount of regulation, right? Like if we have very minimal regulation, but it's it's strictly enforced and everyone's playing by the rules, then perfect, right? No matter how much regulation is out there. But I think right now we're reaching a point globally where there are existing securities laws. There are existing laws against fraud and laws to protect us against bad actors, but they're just not being effectively enforced. And what tends to happen is we are actually penalizing regulated players because regulated players will always try and follow rules. But hey, you know what? You're operating in the same market, but it just so happens you're not registered. You don't have to comply, right? So there's too much regulation if enforcement is not there, right? Or if enforcement is lacking. They have to go together.
Yeah, I think like Nichel has been clear about that really, or has been championing that it's really enforcement of existing regulations. It's also for the benefit of everyone, I think, as mentioned by Wei as well and Nichel, here in the Philippines, while their exchanges are regulated by the central bank, right? Of course, our SEC has come out with their draft rules, which is remains to be drafts, right? But I like the points of Wei that not really dwell on investment contract, not really like put everything under the Huawei test, right? And like really put a cap so that investor protection is still there for certain investments, right? Ken, you want to add to that?
Sure. So when it comes to regulation, our stance is always that we welcome regulation. We're actually one of the most regulated exchanges in the entire world. We have G7 licenses in Spain, France, Italy, to name a few. So I think when you talk about too much regulation, I think you're talking about halting innovation and not allowing companies to continue to push the boundaries. But too little would create gray areas and confusion, and would also halt innovation as well. So I think it is important to be regulated, but I think an understanding of what that regulation means is equally important. The way I think about it is very simply, when cars were invented, you didn't apply the laws of horses to cars. It's a new technology, so you need to understand what this new technology can bring to people and how dangerous or how effective it can be. The wish list, I don't think anyone mentioned it, but I do wish that they would actually ask local exchanges and global exchanges for advice as they crafted these laws. And I think that would be one thing that we can work with the central bank in the Philippines with, but also we've done this in a number of jurisdictions around the world. We are in a fortunate position that we are very regulated, and we'd love to offer some of that advice to the Philippine market.
Right. I think also, Ken, that for the benefit of everyone, Binance and we have actually started that conversation even since the Senate has come out with this draft Digital Asset Act, right, of 2022. The goal of that is supposedly define what a digital asset is and supposedly be able to consolidate, definitions from the BSP and the SEC or globally. Farah, before you answer, I just wanted to, I think since Ken already started the conversation on this, as mentioned, a lot of vulnerabilities, rug pulls, right? So for your respective institutions, so you can answer this again, Ken. What steps are you doing to really promote market integrity and investor protection? So what programs, steps within your respective institutions? You want to, Farah?
Yeah, I can start. Well, for us at Amber Group and Whalefin, our platform, even before everything, all of the collapses, we have been actively working on getting a full financial audit for our group, the entire group. Also, in the spirit of transparency, being able to publish this, so also our proof of reserve and how exactly
Right.
we are managing the funds of our customers.
Transparency, right.
Correct. Also on cybersecurity, we've always been transparent about sharing that we spend a quarter of our operations budget on cybersecurity.
Wow.
Because we know that working with institutions and also our end customers, it's very important to secure and put an extra layer of protection. Those are also insured. So all of our wallets have insurances.
Interesting. Correct.
These are just some of the steps that we're making. It's very important for us at Amber to comply in every market that we try to go into. We have yet to secure a license in the Philippines, but our experience in Asia tells us that each market has its own approach. And we respect that. We want to comply with that. So we want to work with regulators and help out on how we can push this forward faster.
Nice. Wei, any programs in coins.ph that you want to share with us regarding market protection, market integrity, investor protection that you want to promote?
I mean, I think like there's how do I want to talk about this? It's a little bit, I wouldn't say tricky to talk about this, but actually I think it's more important to say we follow the rules and the guidelines of the BSP as laid out by their virtual asset service provider.
Right.
We're a license holder in this country, and we follow the rules of this country. Right? It's pretty straightforward.
And
right?
we make sure to follow.
Yeah, we have regular audits from the BSP. As soon as the FTX event happened, the BSP reached out to us and asked us, a lot of questions about what our exposures are, what our issues are, what are we doing to deal with it. I mean, it's what happens when you run a regulated business, right? You have regulators, you have regulatory oversight in your business. And what happens when I don't do that? I will go to jail. So it's a pretty black and white sort of question and answer. So I don't need to go say, hey, I'm doing this or I'm doing that, and be like, I follow the rules. Pretty easy answer.
Right, Nichel, you want to add?
I think this is one area that we really invested a lot of effort into, in that today PDAX pretty much operates like a bank, and in some respects that it doesn't always make for the best user experience, but we operate to a level that is comparable to a bank. Our risk officer is from a bank, compliance officer is from a bank. Our operations managers are also all from banks. I'm from a bank. Our treasury risk officer is also from a bank. Now, granted, banks don't offer the best user experience, but at least this level of, attention to best practices in finance will probably serve the best interest of the crypto market.
Perfect. Wow, really fascinating. For my last question for everyone, since we have 5 minutes, I guess. So fitting to our theme here, Web3 Festival. So what do you see your institution's role in Web3, NFTs, and in building the metaverse in the short term and in the long term? And also connected to that, how do we all stay safe in Web3? So what's your role in Web3, the metaverse, NFTs, and how do we stay safe to end? Briefly, Nichel?
Well, as a centralized exchange, I think our most immediate role is quite clear. We don't teleport into the metaverse or into Web3 applications. We go through exchanges, right? So our job in this ecosystem is to make that transit as seamless and as safe as possible. But we also, I think, serve a larger role, and that is that a lot of Web3 projects require more of an ecosystem in order to become viable, right? It's no longer like a Web2 product where you can, achieve your MVP, your minimum viable product, and then you go to market, and then boom, round of applause. In Web3, the job is more difficult. You need to figure out what regulatory frameworks apply to you. You need community engagement. You need token support. You need token liquidity. And I think centralized exchanges probably are in the best place to do that too. So PDAX, while we operate the exchange, we also have a separate subsidiary that's a venture arm, Archipelago Labs, that will help bring this ecosystem support to Web3 projects.
Thank you, Nichel. Wei?
Yeah, so for coins, like I said earlier, we have some really exciting products coming out for everyone. We want to be the gateway into Web3, right? Web3 sounds big, but all it is basically you're accessing a decentralized application. And then what do you need to access a decentralized application? You need a decentralized wallet, right? You need to have some funds in that wallet, right? So what we've had built on Coins is that if you go to the Coins Android app today, there's a Coins arcade. We're testing it out right now with one game. I mean, if you're a game developer in the Philippines and then you're building Web3 games, come and find me. Also, I'm speaking here. We want to put your game into our Coins arcade, right? That is a decentralized, that is a game center where you can actually, from a user's perspective, it's a free-to-play game that you can play no different than sort of like you can play any other Web2 games. So I think that's something that we want to roll out. Going back to sort of how to stay safe, I think it's a combination of basically you have to learn how to how money moves, how assets move in this world. What are the protocols that you use when you go on a decentralized platform, right? And then what happens when you put money in and out of a centralized platform? I think it's and don't put that much asset if you don't know what to do, and don't invest more than you can afford to lose.
Right.
So those are
so still a lot of work with respect to education and literacy.
Correct.
Right. Perfect. Farah, your thoughts?
Well, for us at Amber Group, we're business as usual. We'll keep doing what we do best, which is, of course, market making, providing yield products for our institutional clients. Also for our retailers, our mobile app and platform Whalefin is up and running. In the long term, we are moving towards becoming an enabler. So if you're a Web3 project owner, an exchange in needing of wallet services or APIs to do all of these, Amber Group is here to support you there.
Perfect. Thank you. And last words from our friend from Binance, Ken. What are the plans of Binance?
Yeah, I think there's three main things we want to focus on. Number one, compliance. Number two, remittances in the Philippines. And number three, education. So in compliance, I think we've built one of the world's largest compliance teams. We have over 500 people globally, many from FBI or Europol working on our team to help against cybercrimes rather. One thing that we've done in the Philippines is we partnered with the CICC, Cybercrime Investigation Committee, under the DICT, to actually train local law enforcement on cybercrimes. We had a 2-day seminar about a month ago where we had over 100 law enforcement agents from Philippine National Police, DOJ, NBI, and we actually brought in our international resources to train local law enforcement on how to solve cyber crimes. Remittances, I think, is probably the best use case for crypto use in the Philippines. My mom being an OFW, I've seen firsthand the struggles of transferring money globally. And I think as more OFWs start to understand the power of remittances through cryptocurrency and use of stable coins and how much money and time they will save in fees and convenience, I think that's going to be a huge opportunity to get crypto seen in the Philippines to be one of the largest in the world. Education is something that we've focused on significantly in the last few months. So we've partnered with universities like the Philippines, FEU, Enderun, a number of other institutions, and we really want to educate from the university level. We're offering scholarships, grants, free blockchain courses, so we really want to help the next generation of Web3 developers in the country, and we think that the Philippines is really one of the best markets to work in, and I'm excited to be a part of it.
Thank you, Ken. So on that note, can we give again another round of applause to our speakers and panelists here. Farah Rodriguez from Amber, of course, Ken from Binance, Wei from Coins.ph, and Nichel Gaba from Bidax. I'm Mark Goriseta. Thank you, and enjoy the rest of your afternoon.
Thank you for being with us, Mark Goriseta, Nichel Gaba, Wei Zhou, Kenneth Stern, and Farah Rodriguez. And now for our last panel discussion for the day, we are going to talk about empowering Filipinos through fintech. To close out day one of the Philippine Web3 Festival, we invite Katrina Chan of Philippine Startup Week to host a conversation on how fintech is empowering Filipinos. We'd like to invite Crypto PH OG Yang Zhang of Sendit and Bing Zhuo of Huawei.
All right. Hello, everyone. Good afternoon. Hope everyone's having a great Web3 festival so far. So today we're going to be talking about empowering Filipinos through fintech. And I'm actually quite surprised, pleasantly surprised to see that we have an all-female blockbuster panel here that's going to be talking about, fintech and the ecosystem building, community building, and impact again in the fintech ecosystem, especially with Web3 and crypto, right? So, yeah, I guess today all of you guys are gonna get to find out from our panel today how fintechs and the tech ecosystem, right, is adapting to the fast-paced world of crypto and how they're kind of addressing the needs of Filipino Web3 natives, as I'm assuming many of the people in this audience are, right? And I'm joined here today by Yang Yang and Maria, but before I ask them to introduce themselves, I'm Kat Chan. I'm not cool enough to be a Web3 person, so maybe most of you don't know me, but if you do, it's probably because I work with Ideaspace, which is one of the largest tech accelerators here in the Philippines, as well as Kubo. So we work with the government and also organize the Philippine Startup Week, which is also happening this week. And I guess I've worked with about, 700 or so startups now in the ecosystem, working in the Web 2 space initially, since we've been at this for around 10 years, but now really excited to see a lot of new faces in the Web 3 ecosystem. And I think many of you will know that fintech is probably the largest sort of space or vertical in our startup ecosystem. All of our unicorns are in the fintech space, I would say. Many of the Web3 companies are the largest growing also, whether it's in metaverse, fintech, and many others. And today, again, I'm joined by these lovely ladies, and we're gonna be having about half an hour to discuss the impact and where we're seeing it going, right? So let me actually kick this off and ask each of you, ladies, to, maybe just do a quick kind of self-introduction, right? So who you are, what you guys are up to, or what you ladies are up to, rather, and I guess describe sort of what you're doing with respect to this topic, right? So, how your companies and your work is sort of involved in bridging this sort of fintech kind of crypto space. So, yeah, maybe I'll start the end of the panel. So, Yang Yang?
Sure. Hi, I'm Yang Yang. I came to the Philippines in 2017 to be one of the co-founders of PDAX, which is still, I think, one of the largest order book exchanges here. It was impossible when you were involved in Web3 all the way back in 2017, 2018 to not fall in love with the enthusiasm in the space at the time. So I chose to stay after I left PDAX in 2019. I now head new products, of course, a little bit bordering on Web3, a little bit bordering on open banking. I head new products at Sendit, which is a regional payments and banking infrastructure company. And I also lead regional expansion, which is why I'm still here in the Philippines, my now adopted home.
Awesome. And yeah, Bing.
Hello, everyone. My name is Bing. I work for Huawei International. I'm sure you guys have heard of this company. So I'm based in Singapore for the part of the region ecosystem and partner team. Mainly, recently we focus on fintech industry, especially for the hottest topic, the crypto, metaverse, and everything. But we love to work with local companies to explore this area. So that's the background of we've been here. Welcome, thank you for seeing us here.
Yeah, thank you, Yang Yang and Bing. I guess, my first question really is, why is it important, right? Why is it important for, I guess both of you sort of represent traditional, or not necessarily traditional, but more established kind of fintechs, right? So why is it important for the traditional systems of fintech to sort of embrace the new, right? The Web3, the crypto. And yeah, you guys, ladies, care to discuss a bit about that?
Yeah, I think it's quite important because it's very new stuff for all of us. Especially even myself, we work in the traditional fintech industry, But recently, even our company, we invest a lot of resources into this industry. We have a dedicated local team for crypto, related business, and especially in APAC region, we have around 200 people for fintech industry, mainly just for business development. So I think that's one of the signs to show that we think this is very important, and we like to invest, and we like to connect with local people, companies, startups, developers. However, in this industry, we like to know you, and we want to learn as well, because this is a new, era for us as well.
So for Huawei, definitely an area of priority. So I suppose, Bing is looking to connect with you if you're a fintech company. But I guess for you, Yang, this is perhaps nothing as new. You were with PDAX before this, right? Before Zendit. So what are your thoughts on, why it's important for traditional fintech to kind of embrace the Web3 side of things?
So a couple months ago, I remember I went to my parents' house in the States, and I went through some old cabinets, and I pulled out all of my old flared and bell-bottom jeans because they're fashionable again. And I feel like that's kind of an analogy for everything, right? The more things change, the more they stay the same. Ultimately, if we think about fintech, digital payments was super new and disruptive and, frowned upon by banks just a decade, 5 years ago. I think now that the pandemic has happened and there's been a ton of adoption of digital payments, we forget how recently that happened. And so I think that for even, let's say, traditional fintechs, which is a word that would be unthinkable a decade ago, for any fintech, I think our responsibility is to show the same open-mindedness our partners showed us when we first started to enter. And so the same way that banks tried to shut down payments companies 5-10 years ago, we are now responsible for not closing our doors to Web3 companies. So I think a big part of what Zendit does, in Indonesia, we were one of the first to support the P2P lending industry. Here in the Philippines, we were the first to champion something like direct debit, which is the ability to pull directly from bank accounts, something that didn't exist before. And to us, crypto, or at least the responsible Web3 players, are the same ones that are going to be the unicorns of the future. And so it's really up to us to figure out how to work with them compliantly, to be able to approach the regulators together. I think that a big part of having had experience on the other side of the curtain, so to speak, is that at least when I'm approaching regulators on the more traditional side of things, I'm able to say, hey, we're not all the lawless wild, wild west, right? I think that a lot of us actually want to see regulation enter this space. A lot of us know that without those frameworks, it's actually impossible to see Web3 scale responsibly in the future. And I think that for us, it's important, no matter what industry we're in, to think about how Web3 will touch our lives, and also about how we can continue to support responsible innovation in that new ecosystem.
No, that's really interesting to think of it that way. I guess we're the old guard now in some ways, right? And welcoming the new guys. But I think generally, maybe the elephant in the room, right, when everybody thinks about crypto, especially these days, is the crypto winter and the FTX stuff, I guess, more recently, right? But I think what you said, Yang, really is important to touch on, in that it is important to kind of step back and think about, in the startup world, we like to talk about falling in love with the problem, right? Why are we doing this, and what is the problem exactly that we're trying to solve? And whether whatever phase of web you're in, right? I think a lot of these sort of fundamental things remain the same, right? And as we think about empowering Filipinos, and not just Filipinos, but consumers and people through fintech, right? I suppose, I am curious to hear about what's the problem that you've fallen in love with, and how you see Web3 and crypto as sort of being part of that solution. Outside of maybe the short-term friction that we're encountering, right? How do you see crypto impacting or improving the financial system, or what problems does it really solve? Why is it important, right? Any thoughts to share on that?
I can sort of share some of the experience that I'm encountering with those companies. I'm sort of in charge of our ecosystem partners for APAC region, and we have worked with those companies for 7 countries in APAC. And I found out, especially not only Filipinos, but also Singapore, Malaysia, and Indonesia, there are lots of companies, they're looking to invest in some more new areas. And I can see that in this industry, even in very little, short time, the company profit can be increased, rapidly. I know that because when we, freshly recruit some partners, and within a few months, 3 or 6 months, and the profit and the cloud, the services they're using can, improve like 50% plus.
50%.
Yeah, so I can sort of see this is, very good business, so to speak. So, and especially where are they? Singapore, Hong Kong, and Filipino, and also Malaysia, Indonesia. And also, another science I can share with you guys is that when we work with those companies, they are easy to deal with, they just, startups and, code writers, very easy to deal with, and they only, talk about technical stuffs and not commercial. So that's another reason that I'm showing that I love to work with those people. Yeah, I think that's something I like to share.
And this is something you've been seeing everywhere, it seems. Amazing.
Yes.
And yeah, how about you, Yang Yang? What's your why, right? Like, what's the problem that you think you're solving, and what role do you see Web3 playing in that at the end of the day?
I think that a lot of people ask me this question, mostly in the context of, you're not Filipina. Why are you still here, 5, 6 years later? What brought you to the Philippines in the first place? And actually, that was one of my favorite expressions. Like, as a founder, you have to fall in love with a problem. You can never be egotistical enough to think my first idea is the right solution to that problem. You have to continuously force yourself to reinvent so that you can come up with more and more innovative solutions to that same problem. And I think that fundamentally, the same problem that brought me here is the same problem I've now stayed through 2 companies to solve. And it's really about accessibility. I think that a lot of times there are many ways that we can attack the same issue, right? But fundamentally, it's very difficult for Filipinos to access the same types of financial products, the same types of responsible credit, the same types of even mechanisms for saving that a lot of other people can in other parts of the world. And I think that that issue boils down to 3 kind of symptoms that we can tackle together. The first is distribution. The second is trust. And the third is infrastructure to empower both of the other 2. And so if you think about it, there are both, now I can say, I guess, traditional, sort of in the banking, payments, traditional space, but also Web3 ways of tackling all 3 of those dimensions. Obviously, on the side of trust, you can start to digitize KYC through traditional means, figure out ways through traditional databases that we can verify identities better, but we can also do that in one fell swoop with a great blockchain solution. The second is distribution. When you think about distribution, there is a way in the traditional space to work with partners and try to open their eyes to what innovation can do, not only for cutting edge businesses, but even for their own legacy businesses, the analog world, so to speak. And that's something we can do traditionally, but also in the Web3 space, globally all at once, because anything that rolls out in the Web3 ecosystem rolls out to everyone all at the same time. And then finally, this idea of being able to build infrastructure that empowers the other 2. I think there's something that, in the traditional space needs to happen, right? On the fiat rails, we do spend most of our time trying to work with partners really on the very base layer of their own infrastructure, co-building solutions so they can start to offer a better platform for Web 2 and Web 3 companies to interact with them. But on the blockchain side, we can do that again so much faster because the technology is inherently more democratic by the fact that anyone who can learn Solidity can write a smart contract. And so I think that for me, in order to really build a strong foundation for Web3 innovation, to allow all of this really rapid innovation to happen, both sides have to move in parallel. And so I think to me, I've had the good fortune of seeing both sides of that problem, but it's really all the same. I think that, fundamentally, what I came here to do is really just to make sure that there's more accessibility. I think today, I'm looking at the Web2 space and how to empower Web3. And I hope that there are players here that are continue to take advantage of that.
I really love that sentiment, this idea of accessibility, right? Again, of problem solving. I know many people in this community are working at, different solutions that are addressing that. And again, using perhaps different tools, right? And I think one very powerful aspect of Web3 also is this sense of community, right? And like how things are being built, the speed at which it's being built also. And again, the fusion perhaps of different tools, use cases, traditional and kind of new companies kind of working together, right? And kind of developing these solutions to these very hairy problems still, like I have to say. And yeah, I guess on that note, I guess my next question is, are there ways maybe that you see that crypto and Web3 are actually helping the people of the Philippines right now? Like, whether it's obvious to them or it's something that's more hidden perhaps. I don't know, like, I would love to hear from both of you on, like how is this whole Web3 crypto stuff actually affecting people already, like today?
I think as for the research we've done, there are around 150 fintech companies in Philippines, and nearly half of them are our customers. And if we talk about the traditional fintech company and the new ones, we found out a lot of, especially the people in this industry, they're looking toward the solution. And the new technology and Web3 company and all that provided a pathway for them to think through. Just for example, like, ChanUp is one of our companies, one of our customers. They're in Singapore. And the business they do, not only just for that region, but they looking to expand the business, in Philippines as well. And I think this is new industry and provided those investors for new thing to think about and maybe wanted to expand the business. Yeah.
How about you, Yang Yang? Is there a surprising one maybe that people don't know about in terms of how Web3 is affecting Philippine fintech right now?
So I will not take the low-hanging fruit, which is crypto-based remittance, although I think that's a big one. I know that a lot of the crypto players here, I think PDAX, Coins.ph actually participate in these massive global crypto-based remittance networks, and I think that that's doing a lot of good. I think the one that I wanted to focus on was really the visibility of the startup scene here. I think that on the back of, I think, just that play to earn, now it's a little bit of a dirty word, but still on the back of that kind of movement over the last year, there's been a lot of visibility for the Philippine startup scene. I think that with this sort of change in management happening across a lot of the sort of big crypto players here as well, there's a lot of just global visibility to a particular tech industry in the Philippines that, we really haven't seen before. I think that it's nice to see global investors, global VCs start to take the Philippines more seriously.
Absolutely.
I think we get pinged every day by one of our investors, for example, asking, hey, do you know this Philippine startup? They're in the Web3 space. Like, do you work with them? And I think that it's really, really nice to see that happen. I think a lot of people don't credit the crypto industry with that because a lot of times they focus on, again, this FTX debacle or, the play to earn stuff. And I think that there are a lot of really valid impactful use cases that are being built, right here.
I mean, definitely on both points, I totally agree. Like, first of all, like remittances, right? Like, not super sexy, and I think that's kind of a theme in a lot of these things. You know, like a lot of change is being built on these things that maybe don't make the headlines, but at the same time make such a difference in so many people's lives, right? And I totally agree with you in terms of the lack of visibility, but the increasing interest. I mean, so many people flew in here for this Web3 festival. So, hey guys, especially if you're a first-time visitor to the Philippines, like, shout out to you. Thank you for coming. And yeah, in Philippine Startup Week, check that out as well. But no, but I super agree. Like, in terms of just the volume of kind of like, I don't know, telegrams I'm getting, right? Just asking about what's going on with XYZ company and like the interest from investors. There's definitely a lot of momentum being built there. And I think a lot of it does have to do with the fact that, hey, there's traction, right? That's being established in these kind of lesser known, unsexier spaces, right? But that again, you know, if it's a problem in a market like the Philippines, it's probably also an issue or a problem that can be solved in so many other places, right? And I think that's pretty exciting. So, you know, like, so I guess on that note, and I was flagged that we probably have I have time for maybe one or two last questions. So maybe I'll kind of want to ask for both of your sort of final thoughts in terms of our topic again, which is empowering Filipinos through fintech. And I guess two things, right? Especially in this environment that we're in now, right? Like, so if you guys had a crystal ball, I suppose, right? How do you see, or what do you think the importance of crypto in fintech will be, I suppose, in the next 5 years or so, like in the medium term, 3 to 5 years, right? Maybe hard to look much farther out than that. So that's kind of part one of the question. And then part two of the question is, you know, what role do you see yourself playing in it? And maybe most importantly, right, like for the masses, for the average Filipino, for the people maybe watching online that aren't joining us here in this room, right? Like, what's sort of your, I don't say advice, but like, how do you see them kind of benefiting from or taking advantage of what's going on in fintech, in Web3, and all these developments, right? So again, it's kind of complex question, but yeah, 3 parts. Where do you kind of see it going? What role do you think you'll be playing in it? And then your advice to the layman masses, right, about how they should be participating in Web3 fintech space.
I think I'm not too sure where it's heading to. And as I don't know whether anyone can know that is heading to anywhere or, you know, it's unclear just for me. But I think for myself, the role I'm playing, I can totally share with you, is that I will recruit more partners to build up a strong ecosystem and for this industry. And that's something that we're already doing right now. We have partner team in each country in APAC region. And we are talking to developers, you know, startup companies, to recruit them as our partners. We have 2,000 partners in APAC region. So basically that's something we're doing. And we also have startup foundations that help startup companies. Just not so long ago in Singapore, we sort of invested like a 20K for each startup companies as a cloud voucher for them to you know, use our cloud services. That's something we are doing. I think that, you know, ecosystem is the key, and that is something we're willing to invest in and continually developing. Yep.
So I think I'll reiterate that quick plug. So you're working with over 2,000 companies now, and you have quite a number of cloud. Is that at 2,000?
2,000 partners.
2,000
in
partners
APAC region.
in the
Yeah.
APAC region. So
right.
watch out for that, and a number of resources, cloud benefits, and things like this that, you know, the developers, especially in the startup founders or wannapreneurs, like, should be able to take advantage of, right? So maybe not so much for the masses just yet, but yeah, like definitely lots of opportunities to engage with the ecosystem you have at Huawei, right? Good. All right, off to you with my very complicated question, Yang Yang. But
I always like consulting my crystal ball. I think if I were to look in the medium term, crypto has kind of been waiting for this formal regulation for quite some time. Maybe the silver lining, if we can see it that way, to disasters like this FTX, recent scandal and a lot of the other ones that have come through, is that it puts a sense of urgency behind regulation. And I think that hopefully the industry, and I see that, especially in the Philippines industry, is strong enough to kind of work together to make sure that regulators don't punitively or over-regulate, while at the same time actually finally introducing formal frameworks that actually empower the industry more. And so I think if I had a crystal ball, that's maybe wishful thinking, but I think that's what I see for the next 3 to 5 years. There'll be a big focus.
There would be more guardrails, but at the end of the day, that would actually allow the industry to grow even more, right? Or
yes, and it maybe even would focus the industry within those guardrails to move even faster, because there won't be all these distractions of bad actors. It'll be the good ones that actually will have the regulators behind them cheering them on.
I will say, like, that is part of the, in a way, like it's surprising for some to hear that, we're calling for regulation, but I think it's part of the values of why, open finance became a thing in the first place, right? Like, to want something of this sort in a way. So anyway, sorry, I interrupted you. But yeah, so that's your crystal ball prediction. Thank you for that.
Within my crystal universe, where do I think my role will be? I like to think I'm a little bit like Web 2.5. So, a champion of Web 3 that kind of sits as that double agent in a Web 2 world. So I hope that what Zendit can do is really be a great partner and friend to a lot of Web 3 startups that are still a little bit lost in this rapidly evolving regulatory framework. And I think that for us, we really hope that we can be that open-minded partner that will say, hey, you don't have, X qualification today, but let us try to introduce you to a partner that can get you there, or let us be that partner that can get you there, so that we can make sure that this sort of Web 2 and Web 3 world are bridged seamlessly in the future. Oh, and
the masses, your sort of
I can't
advice
forget.
to the layman.
I think in line with the first two, advice to the masses, crypto is not just retail investing. It's not just making a fortune overnight or losing 10 fortunes overnight. I think that for anyone who's kind of listening in or starting to think about crypto or Web3, I would say focus on the use cases and do your research. I think that there are a ton of resources out there to make sure that you don't lose your shirt, your home, everything in the process. There's a way to get involved in really responsible companies that are pushing out really exciting things without taking risks that are beyond you.
Very sage advice. So thank you again, Yang Yang. Thank you, Bing.
Thank you,
I hope you can
Christina.
give our ladies a round of applause. Do check out Zendit and Huawei, and of course, Philippine Startup Week. I hope everyone in the audience, as well as those watching online, learned a little bit more and kind of had to think about how fintech and Web3 can create impact in the Philippine ecosystem. Again, I've been Kat Chan. Thank you very much, and have a great rest of the Web3 Festival. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Katrina Chan, Yang Yang Zhang, and Bing Zhuo for that discussion. While formal sessions are concluded for the day, we encourage you to stick around as Berlin Santos and the team from TZ APAC provide a free workshop on how artists can enter the world of Web3. We'd also like to invite all VIP ticket holders to join the VIP dinner tonight at 7 p.m. Once again, we'd like to invite all VIP ticket holders to join the VIP dinner tonight at 7 p.m., which will be at Shangri-La The Fort in Bonifacio Hall. Once again, VIP dinner tonight is at 7 p.m. at Shangri-La The Fort in Bonifacio Hall, located on the
What if your everyday is easier? What if your tasks are faster? What if you never have to chase due dates ever? What if your life is safer? What if your dreams are higher? What if kaya mo na? GCash gives you secure payments, real-time money transfers, accessible financial services, exclusive deals, and a full suite of business solutions para kaya mo na sumabay sa takbo ng buhay. Kaya mo na to stay connected. Kaya mo na magbayad anytime, anywhere. Kaya mo na mag-buy and sell. Kaya mo na to get exclusive deals. Kaya mo na magpera padala. Kaya mo na gawing safe ang future. Kaya mo na abutin ang pangarap. Kaya mo na makatulong, magbigay ng pag-asa. Kaya mo, GCash mo.
Music, art, and NFTs. One big celebration. Over 10,000 G-goers. A recap of the best moments. Powered by NFT activated passes. 917 new NFT owners. The biggest NFT launch in the Philippines.
Bis na kita.
Ay, kailan kaya ulit?
Angkas, tara na! Whee! Babalik pa po ang angkas?
Manalig ka lang, dahil ang angkas ay malakas.
Angkas malakas!
Angkas malakas!
Angkas malakas! Angkas malakas!
No? Pero kaya kong maglapag, kaya kong maglagay ng pagkain sa hapagkainan. I can put food on the table. So if my passion can actually feed me, how far can it take me? In August 2021, NFT came into my vocabulary. This is our second office. When I say office, it's actually our house. So I have my friends there. This is, I was on board on Web3, August 2021, through this man, Jake Studios. He's my ninong because he onboarded me. He gave me my first Tezos. And for an artist like me, no, na sanay sa mga raketan, na pagkatapos ng event, I actually paid by peso, hindi ako masyadong naniniwala. I was hesitant to believe that I can actually earn from crypto through my artworks. Kailangan namin ng pambayad ng upa. Kailangan namin pambili ng pagkain. Kaya, tinry namin through his crypto earnings, we cashed out it through Binance and GCash. Tapos, we paid our rent, we bought our food, and doon ako nag-start. And karamihan sa atin would ask this question, what the heck is this? And what the heck is this is the summary of all the questions. Ano yung NFTs? What is the blockchain? Ano yung Web3? Ano pwede kong art na ibenta? How can I start my journey in Web3? And we started on Tezos. No? We started our career on in Tezos. And we are kind of bullish with Tezos because, first of all, it's affordable. The community is very, very strong, very, very active. They support projects and supports small-time artists. It's a good entry point for small-time artists, actually. And also, it promotes clean NFTs. That's why. And as a photographer, I was thinking of a collection on what projects should I sell in the Web3 or in the marketplace. And because I'm a photographer, I have this project called Tabula Rasa Portraits. I have this, because I'm a photographer again, I produce a collection called Imahin Collection. And I got sales. No? I was able to cash out it, pay our rent, pay our dues, electric bills, and all of those stuff. And in November, most of my collectors are foreigners because these photographs can actually speak for itself. I don't need to translate some of my writings. Later I'll show you. And in November 2021, I found a Filipino NFT community conducting a Twitter Spaces. So nakatanda ba kayo ng mga Twitter Spaces? So, at doon ko na-meet ang Crypto Art PH dated November 23. Nag-backtrack pa ako noon. They're conducting a Twitter Spaces and I was listening to them and asked them if I could perform a piece, a spoken word piece. And after that, they were amazed and persuaded me to mint my first spoken word NFT. And after that, everything has changed. After that Twitter space, everything has changed. I was invited in different Twitter spaces, and this is my Genesis spoken word entitled Bulaklak na Hindi Nasisikatan ng Araw. It's about mental health. You can actually stream this also in streaming platforms. And this is, in a nutshell, this is the simple and basic transaction happening in the Web3. It's always between the creator and the collector. But for me, it's kind of personal. For me, it is between the artist and the supporter. For me as an artist, some of my collectors are also my friends. And I mean, this is a good way to say that most of our friends are also our supporters. And in January 2022, I had this album launch called Concepto Contexto Spoken Word Album Launch. And based on, and according to Bitpinas, it was tagged as the Philippines' first ever NFT spoken word album. And, yan. Just gonna show you the trailer.
Paano nga ba inuukit? Sa buhangin o sa putik? Sa tubig sinusulat o sa hangin ni ginuguhit kasaysayan? Baka mainam kung sa bato, Hagaya ng hieroglipiko sa Mesopotamia o Ehipto, maaari rin sa bakal, sa pilak at tanso, o di kaya sa kinang ng diamante at ginto, kasaysayan. Paano nga ba inuukit? Kasaysayan lang ba kapag ito ay nauulit? Ako ba ay nasa anong pahina na? Pang ilang kabanata ba ito? O kasaysayan ng panahon kung saan may isinilang na ako? Kasaysayan. Paano nga ba inuukit ang kasaysayan? Mabuti na lang at may araw na nasilayan. Kasaysayan.
Yan. So that's my project. That's my NFT album. So if you're into poetry or NFT literature, you can approach me. So we can talk about that. And this is what it looks like. And this is the second half. So I'll just give you a background on how to start your crypto art journey. So, yan. So how can I start my crypto art journey? This is very basic. Just follow these 3 simple steps. First, you need to create, to mint, and to sell. Create and sell is very, very common sense. But the minting part, it equates to upload. No? And for a start, you just need to download this cryptocurrency wallet for Tezos. There you have the Kukai, the Temple wallet, Naan wallet. So anything will do. And these are the list of Tezos Marketplace that I used. So kung meron pang iba, baka di ko lang na-ilista. Teya.art, Versum, XYZ, Rarible, Object.com. Pwede nyo siyang screenshot kung gusto nyo mag-start ng project. And I'll show you a very, very quick tutorial on how to mint. So, ayan siya. Ayan. So, kailangan mo lang isync yung wallet mo. Medyo naka-fast forward lang to ng konti, pero sana masundan ninyo. Meron dyan, kailangan mo lang i-confirm. Input yung password, yun lang yung kailangan mong gawin. Tapos, create. So, kung meron ka na, syempre, kailangan mo muna ng artwork. So, kailangan mo lang siyang i-upload. I-upload. Tapos, lagyan mo ng title. Just put a title, put a description on it. Yan. Kunyari, ito yung artwork. To mint is to upload. No? Then after that, put a description, put tags. You can put different tags like hashtag NFT, hashtag crypto art, hashtag, hindi ko na mabasa, pero ayan. You can put as many tags as you want. Ayan. Ayan. Then you can also play with the editions. You can put 1 edition or 100 edition, and you can also play with the royalties from 0 to 25. No? So kung gusto mo na 1 edition lang siya, edi rare siya. So after that, you just click continue, and then mint. Okay? So after that, meron lang siyang bagay rito na kailangan mo lang i-confirm. Ayan, hindi lang siya nasagap ng aking screen record. Then after that, pag okay na siya, may lalabas dito sa baba na token created successfully. So meron ka ng NFT. Tapos, punta ka lang sa profile mo, check mo lang siya, just check your profile, then view your other collections. Yan. I put it on sining-siningan. That's where I put it. So these are my other projects. And this one, I sold it already to Lupi Moon. He's here. Shout out to you. And yeah, after this, na nakamint na siya, kailangan mo muna siyang i-list para ma-sell. So kailangan mo lang ilagay kung ilang edition, 1 edition, tapos pwede ka maglaro kung magkano mo siya gustong ibenta. It's either 1 million TES, 1,000 TES, 100 TES, 1 TES. You can play with the pricing. And you can also have it auctioned, or if you don't want the artwork, you can actually burn it. So after that list, you just click the listing. Then after that, you just wait for a while. Ayan. So kung meron kayong mga tanong, pwede naman natin pag-usapan din. Mamaya I'll give you my socials. And ayan. After that, you'll check history, nakalist na siya, so it's available for 100 tests. Then, again, go to your profile, check it. And for the last time, now it's now for sale. Then proceed to your Twitter account, then put a description on it, include the link so your collectors can actually see it. And after that, kaboom. Yan, just tweet it. Then, okay. So next, just to end my topic, these are the 3 most important things you should do in the metaverse and in the physical world. First, credibility. Second is consistency. And third is the community. And I'm not able to do this talk without my community helping me. Shout out to Crypto Art PH. And these are some of the artworks of my friends in the Tezos community in the Crypto Art PH. Yan. So mga di ko na isama, di ko kasi makita yung artworks nyo eh. Pero ayan. And we actually held the first ever NFT poetry exhibit in Midspace Web3 Art Gallery, curated by Harleen. Yan. And we also have the TESMAS event happening on December. Actually, it's an ongoing event. So follow this socials of the TESMAS Philippines for more updates. And if you have questions, just follow them. And what if your passion can't feed you? Get a job and go to work. But most especially, work on your dreams. Conceive ideas, give them names, and harness them until they learn to walk on their own. You are born for this moment. Learn and experience things as much as you can until such time that you become a message for the others. And you can follow also the socials of TZA Pack and Tezos Asia Pacific. They support, they have grants, they support artists and the community. And I believe that we are creating history. Naniniwala ba tayo na meron tayong kasaysayang ginagawa ngayon? At like ko to, just a very, very, very short lang. Dapat, nung umpisa talaga, nag-ask lang ako sa page ng Philippine Web3 if I can have an exhibit. No? Then after nun, nakita ko yung packages, hindi ko kaya. Tapos 2 weeks after, invite ako ng TCI Pack to deliver this presentation. And just to end it up, no? Kasaysayan, paano nga ba inuukit? Sa buhangin o sa putik, sa tubig isinusulat o sa hangin ay ginuguhit, kasaysayan. Baka mainam kung sa bato, kagaya ng hieroglipiko, sa Mesopotamia o Ehipto, maaari rin sa bakal, sa pilak at tanso, o hindi naman kaya sa kinang ng diamante at ginto, kasaysayan. Paano nga ba inuukit? Pwede ba kahit sa troso o sa kwaderno kong pinunit, gusto ko lang sana na ikwento at ibuka ang bibig, tapos bahala na magsalin kung sila ba ay nakinig, kasaysayan. Paano nga ba inuukit? Kasaysayan lang ba kapag ito ay nauulit? Ako ba nasa pang-ilang pahina na? Pang-ilang kabanata ba ito? O kasaysayan yung panahon kung saan may isinilang na ako? Kasaysayan. Paano nga ba inuukit? Talambuhay na isang tao nagtanong din ng bakit hanggang sa lumipas ang panahon, sa kutay na tagpuan, hanggang sa inilapat sa berso, ang aking kakayahan, kasaysayan. At tayo ay pinagtagpo. Anong hiwaga nga ba ang nakabalot sa mundo? Palaisipan ng bukas. Malay ba natin sa kasaysayan? Kung ang bukas ay ngayon din, paano ba natin malalaman kasaysayan? Paano nga ba natin inuukit ang kasaysayan? Mabuti na lang at may araw na nasilayan. Kasaysayan. Kaya para sa lahat ng nakinig, para sa lahat ng nagpunta, para sa lahat ng naglaan ng oras, para sa lahat ng dumayo pa, at sa Diyos na may gawa ng langit at lupa, maraming salamat po sa inyo. Salamat po.
Thank you very much, Verlin Santos. And that wraps up our day 1 of the Philippine Web3 Festival. Again, this event is brought to you by YGG and Blockchain Space in cooperation with IABC and Emfarsis. We hope everyone had a blast today as we will continue all these tomorrow until November 17th, Thursday. So don't miss these out. We still have more topics from notable keynote speakers, more interesting firesides, and insightful panel discussion for everyone. Once again, thank you very much, and let's all exit the ballroom before 6 p.m. and see you all again at 9 a.m. tomorrow. Maraming salamat po.